Stevenson, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this Empowerment.work weekly online chat. Empowerment Work's a mission to support unemployed internationals in their job search. This year we had the mission to create community, and then COVID happened and we all went online, and actually it's been a benefit because we've managed to build a big community now online as well. So we take a different topic each week, and you can get tips from the expert, but also have a chance to test things out and talk amongst yourselves in breakout rooms, and we'll be going into breakout rooms later. All right, we're going to be recording this whole event. I want you to know about that, because if you want to speak within the event, it will be recorded. If you want to say something and you don't want it recorded, you can always put it in the chat at the bottom. If you want to answer a question or have anything to say, you can always raise your hand by using the reaction button, which is at the bottom of your screen. And the chat's at the bottom of your screen as well. I think everybody's done enough Zoom events now to be able to carry on with them. So I'd like to now introduce Tessa Van Kieken, who's going to take over from us today. And she's spent the last 15 years helping clients reconnect their inner power and to feel aligned and balanced. So thank you very much, Tessa, and take it over from now.
Thank you, Jane, for having me here. I'm delighted to be here. And yeah, it was very interesting, like when I was asked around doing some meditation and maybe also talking about like being more true to yourself, being more authentic and connecting, more feeling more connected and around connection in general. So what I actually want to start with, and I do this nearly at all my meetings, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's a group, is to actually arrive and connect together. So most of you right now are probably in speaker view. So you probably just see me speaking right now. But what I would like you to invite for a few minutes to actually go to the gallery view. So for those of you on a laptop or a computer, if you hover over the top right corner, you see there that you can click on gallery view. If it's already on gallery view, it will say speaker view. But if you're on speaker view, so just click on gallery view so you see all the little pictures from everyone. And just for a moment, we'll start actually with a little meditation, and then we'll arrive together to just really connect with each other. And then after that, you can either choose to keep it in gallery view if you like that, or if you find that a little bit too small and too busy, just put it back to speaker view so you can see me. But just for now, I would like to invite you to just make sure you sit straight with your feet flat on the floor. Just make sure your back is straight so you can easily breathe into your belly. And just for a moment, close your eyes. And bring your awareness to your breathing. Just notice the breath. On the in-breath, feel the chest rising, the belly expanding. On the out-breath, the belly contracting, the chest falling. And bring your full awareness to the flow of the breath on the in-breath. Feel the air flowing in through your nose, through your throat, your chest, down into the belly. And allow your mind to follow the breath. Dropping back down in your body. If any thoughts arise or there's any distractions, notice and acknowledge them. And then let them go by bringing your awareness back to your breathing. Breathing into the belly. Mind following breath. And in that space, allow yourself to be aware of whatever arises, of whatever is there. Any physical, emotional, or mental sensations. Allow them to be there without any judgment. When you're really feeling that connection, that presence here now with yourself in this space, I invite you to continue to breathe into the belly and really stay in that grounded space, and then gently open your eyes. And just for a moment, look at the other people in the room. Maybe your eyes move from person to person, or maybe you look at one or two particular people. Just see if you can really stay in that grounded space and really feel that connection with the group as well. And even those with their videos off, just notice their presence here too. Welcome. So, as I said, you can stay on gallery view to just see everyone, or you can, if you find it more comfortable, because it can be all a little bit small, you can just put it back on speaker view as well, whatever is more comfortable for you to watch. And the reason I do this exercise mostly is that most of the time, me included, very often when we go somewhere, when we're meeting someone, whether it's live or in a Zoom connection, we have come from somewhere else and we can be a little bit all over the place or whatever, and we're not actually present. So we might be there, we might even be listening, we might even be looking at the person, we might not even be doing anything else, but we're not really here. And most of the time, any sensation of disconnect comes from this of not being really present here. And being present with someone else always starts with being present within yourself. So to me, this being true to yourself or being authentic really is completely interlinked with connection. Really, connection to me is about the connection with yourself, the connection with other people, and the connection with your surroundings, with the environment, if you like. And if at any of these levels, if there is a disconnect, then also it's much harder to really feel connected or feeling true to yourself. One of the things I often like is, and it's become a little bit cliche, but you hear it a lot, and I do still like it, is the phrase, the Zulu phrase, the Ubuntu, which really, it actually has several meanings. Like, it's often translated as I am because we are, but it really also means humanity. And within that is, like, again, it's like you are part of humanity, or you are humanity, but you're also part of the whole. And I really like that because very often when we talk about being authentic, we get lost in this, like, oh yeah, I need to be me, I need to be myself. And we forget that we are always part of our surroundings. So I am myself in relation to. And it's finding that balance. And it's not a balance between how much am I staying really in my own space, am I going to someone else, but it's recognizing that connection between the two. It's recognizing that if I'm really aligned and grounded and open, connected to the others, that's the time where I fully am authentic myself and connecting with others. And when I go into that space that either I'm denying myself, or I'm focused too much on like being me without that part of in relation to, then I lose that connection. So one of the most important things is, for me, is like this: when you're looking at being true to yourself, we very often think of like either that we find that we are scared to show ourselves, that we kind of hide ourselves or not enough. And then if we go from that space without really going into a space of looking at, okay, who am I really? What does it really mean to be me? Then I can move into a false confidence of going, here I am, take it or leave it. I don't care what you think about me. But that is as much disconnected as hiding. Because then again, I put up a barrier, and when there's a barrier, really nothing can come out, but also nothing can go in. So if I think, oh, I need to protect myself from what other people think, and I shouldn't mind, I shouldn't care about what other people think, I need to put up a barrier because I have to stop what people put in towards me. But as soon as I do that, I also stop really showing myself. There is this image that I create, there is this like, this is me, and there it becomes rigid. So it's about finding that balance, finding that groundedness, finding that strength within yourself to really allow to come out, to show what's really you, but staying open. And one of the things I mostly say is like, I deeply care what you think about me, but I don't let myself depend on it. Because the moment I don't care what you think about me, I have to block you out. Or I have to roll of you, because then it becomes how much can I be me and how much can you be you. And when there is something, when there is friction or yeah, like a friction where something feels like, well, if I am really me in this way, then you can't be you because you feel that you have to kind of give way. Well, then already you see, like, then it becomes a problem, right? Whereas if we're together in that space where I can be fully me, but I can also take into account who you are, because I'm strong enough to know that if you say something that I can see, okay, this is not really me, or this is really lying with you. To give an example, I can be a very fast talker. I do my best in presentations like this not to. So if I am going to ramble on, then just raise your hand and say, actually, I think there's a button somewhere saying slow down. So feel free to press that anytime if I do go into that space. But if I want to say something that's really going on for me, and I'm talking to someone else, let's say it's even my partner or a family member or a friend, and I'm going really enthusiastic, and I'm going like, oh, this is happening. And the other person can't take it in anymore. And they would say, oh, I like, you know, it's going too fast. I can't follow you anymore. And I go, well, this is the way I talk. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like that if I then change the way I talk, if I take into account that I also take into account what the other person needs and what the other person needs to hear me, that is not being true to myself. That's actually being like connected, and also seeing that I change the form, but what's really inside, I still share, right? I don't have to change what I actually share, but I also need to take into account that the other person can hear it. It's the same when we talk about our own stuff, right? We talk about boundaries and we say, well, if someone does something that in that moment in time, we need to say no. So the saying no is not allowing the other person to be who they are. It's just also being mindful of what in that moment in time you can handle. And if you can't handle something, if someone has a problem, but you at this moment in time can't listen, it's being true to you, but also being true to them to be able to say, not right now, right? I can't handle that. So this is why you always have the interaction, and also the saying no then comes from it's a true no, in like it's a compassionate no, both for yourself and others, rather than a reactionary no where it's just like, oh, I need to put my boundaries up. It can be completely still in that open space, right? So that's just very briefly, like, I know this is kind of, I straight away dived in a little bit deeper than I had planned, but I think it's very important, because I think also I see a lot what people do is that when they talk about being yourself, people often talk about values and beliefs. But I think it's very important to realize that your values and beliefs, those are things that you have either learned or taken on. You're not born with your values or your beliefs, right? I really would like you to think for that for a moment. Because if you really think about who you truly are, then it's important to realize that your values and beliefs are very important in this moment. But it can change. I don't know how many of you have that, but I know for sure that, yes, there is some core elements of what is very important to me, and as far as I can remember, has been all my life. But there are also things that I think differently about life now. My beliefs are not exactly the same now than they were 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. Yes, I am that old. And this is very important to realize, because when you're in your space again of being true to you, being authentic and connecting to other people, it is important to realize that, again, thinking, okay, this is what I stand for right now, but to also have that flexibility that other people, if they think about things differently, doesn't mean you have to take on what they say, but it means that you can have that flexibility, that awareness of saying, okay, but who I am right now isn't rigid, it isn't static. So I stay open to hearing those other things, and I can choose to say, well, actually, no, that doesn't resonate with me. Or I can think, oh, wait, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But doing that really requires you being in your own strength to also, to really strongly stay within, to have that ability to listen to things and not feel as if it's someone else telling you how you should think, or someone else persuading you to be different, or you feeling that you're not strong enough to really stay yourself. And I think for my own, like in my own experience, this is what I really experienced as a child. I was incredibly insecure and I always doubted myself. And what happened in these moments was that I experienced it as someone else trying to force their way of thinking on me. But really, it was more about me not being grounded enough in that space where I could really hear what they said and not feeling that need to defend myself or to push that away and not be influenced by it, but to really kind of go, oh yeah, that's another way of looking at it. And think, yeah, but it's not my way. Or, oh, well, actually, wait a minute. And if you really look at your life, you probably see that the way you are right now, your values and beliefs right now are based on that interaction happening. But it may have happened a lot of the time unconsciously. Whereas if you get into that more aware space, if you're really aligned with yourself, then this process can actually happen consciously and aware. And I think that really gives you a lot of power to see, to really notice when you're really aligned, and when you're, and to also see that when there's friction, that instead of needing to defend your stuff or to kind of see what you need to do with whatever the other person is doing, that it really is about going back within you, seeing, hey, am I not grounded enough? Am I actually, how am I perceiving what's happening around me? Right, I'm conscious that I've been talking for a long time, so I don't know if anyone, does this resonate at all, or does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to say? In a few minutes, we'll go into a breakout room where you in a smaller group can just talk a little bit about this kind of stuff. But if there's anything, yeah, I think I see Ryan putting a hand up. Do you want to do it? If you're doing it online, you will be, it will be shared. So you can also do it in the chat if you prefer. But if you're happy for it to be shared, then please unmute yourself. And
yeah, I just want to ask the line that you said, that you used earlier. I deeply care about what you think of me. What was the rest of it?
I deeply care about what you think of me, but I'm not dependent on it.
Okay, thank you.
And I sometimes say it in different ways, but that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah. So I think this might be a nice time to go into the first breakout rooms to kind of have a little bit more chat about this. So what I would like you to do is you'll be in groups of, hopefully you'll be in groups of 3. There might be either 1 of 2 or 4, because like it's sometimes difficult to measure it exactly. But what I would like you to do is you'll have a few minutes to just arrive together, and then you have each 5 minutes, if there is 3, to talk about what it means for you. What does authenticity and connection really mean to you or mean for you? And secondly, like, what is the most important for you to feel authentic and connected? Like, what is it that you need? What, when, in which situations, or do you know for yourself what it is that makes you feel that feeling of being authentic and connected? And then lastly, also, what is the biggest obstacle for you to feeling authentic or connected? And I think Simona kindly is putting these questions in the chat box if you quickly want to have a look. So is there any questions about that, or are you happy to go into your breakout rooms? And for those who have their videos off, I would suggest, if you go into the breakout rooms, if you can put your video on, even if it's only for a minute, just for people to actually see who you are. And then after that, if it's maybe because of your bandwidth or for other reasons, you can put your video off again, but just for people to actually know that they're who they're with if they don't know you.
I'm gonna start the breakout rooms now, but someone got disconnected. I'm not sure who it is.
I think they're back, maybe, or someone else is coming in.
Someone else came in, but I'm gonna open the rooms and then we'll explain to the new person what is happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are in. Michael?
So if you maybe, Simona, if you want to, or I think you were doing it right, the recording, great. So yeah, so it's great to hear really what came up from, like, you know, talking about it in breakout rooms. And I think it's very interesting because what some of you are mentioning, like around that, the feeling safe, right? And it needing to be two ways. And I think there's two elements to that. And it comes actually to what the others as well said, like, you know, about you yourself being the main enemy to that connection and to being present. And also that bit of acceptance, of really needing to be accepted, but also feeling accepted. And one step further, of course, that is related to accepting yourself. So I think to go back to the safety, it's like when you are not grounded within yourself, you cannot feel safe. But what happens is we start looking outside to be made feel safe. So this is that bit where we say, I'll open up if you. But the problem with that is that if you're closed, then how can the other do what you need them to do before opening up? Who's going to open up first? Right? So this is why we say that, and that's why I did that exercise with you. Like for me, like, I mean, a lot of the practices I do with people in the more spiritual and meditation practices, we do a lot, which is based on Japanese old practices where they talk about head, heart, and hara. And you can't see, but my hand is just below the navel, below the belly button. And the hara in Japan means the physical belly, but it also means the center of your being. And in the West, we have a tendency to focus on the head and the heart. And we think either with the mind or we think the heart. But what happens is when we go from mind to heart and we open, this is where people start feeling that bit of like vulnerability and, oh, I feel maybe negative energy, or there's this happening or that happening. But when we go to that grounded space of the hara, and then from there we open up, you have that's your safety. Then you can feel fully grounded and safe while being open. So you no longer need that first someone else needs to do something for you to feel safe, because it doesn't work. As long as you're not grounded within yourself, you don't feel that safety. And yes, it does help. There is moments like, again, this is why we feel easily connected with people that are similar, that love us, that are warm. And that's nice and that's good. But in the end, the problem is that if we only can feel that connection and feeling that we can be yourself with people that are like that, That means that in other situations where we don't have that external safety buffer, then we can't be ourselves and we don't feel connected. And it doesn't matter the amount of whatever other people do. If we're in a situation where we don't feel safe, then the only thing that can help us feel like that and can connect is us, is that being grounded. And the beauty of this is that if you're fully open, but you're also strong within yourself, there's not that need of like, oh, but what if the other person doesn't? Because it doesn't matter. If the other person doesn't, then maybe the connection might not happen. But you're in a grounded space, so if it does happen, you get that connection. If it doesn't, you might even experience that by you being in that space, the other person might actually slowly start opening up as well. And this is why in all traditions, like, and also in the work I do with people, when we look at like being yourself and connection, that we look at the self. You know, we talk about self-compassion, self-awareness. But what truly happens is that when you're really in that space, you realize that compassion can't be for me or for the other. There can only be compassion. And it's automatic, and it can't show compassion. True compassion for someone else always includes me. Because I can't really be there. Yes, I can do little things for someone else. I can be nice to someone, but to really be compassionate, to really have that true love, if you like, even, it has to include me, because it's about both people. It's about that connection. And the same with awareness in a way. There is just being aware. We think it's about us. We start with us, but then it automatically grows to, because it's being aware of me in relation to other people, the surroundings. So I see someone asking, there's a question, is there a negative connection? So the simple answer is no, but the complicated answer is yes, because when we're not in that grounded space, like this negative energy, what I said, like we can feel negative energy from other people. The problem is that we then focus on that the other people should be different, that we should not be in contact. You see this on the internet very often. You see, you should only be with other people, with positive people. And I always ask people, said, how is that possible? I know for me, when years ago, when I went to a really bad breakup, I was definitely not positive. What if my friends and family would have said, sorry, can't be with you. Can only be with positive people. I have to surround myself with positive people only. That's not compassionate, right? So there is that element of where that happens, but it's not about me shutting the other people out when I experience them as not being positive. And I say that on purpose like that because sometimes it's my experience of them rather than them actually being that. But sometimes they may be. But it's about me getting grounded. Right? And I think one important thing to say about that is also like, for me, the three most important things are that being open, being present, grounded, and also ownership. And ownership has to be with taking responsibility for yourself and for who you are and how you express yourself and everything else. But ownership, and this is where it's important because someone mentioned that somewhere, the antidotes to these, if you like, are being closed, absent, and blame. And what very often happens with taking ownership, that we see ownership as, or responsibility as, being at fault. And I'm going to give you an example that's quite extreme, and I won't go into the details, but like a long time ago, I had some experience of that myself in not a very extreme situation, but still some, where if there is, for instance, an element of abuse within a connection or relationship, right? Taking ownership does not mean you're at fault. If something happens to you, it happens to you, but you are responsible for how you deal with it. And that responsibility, again, is not fault. Like, I've been in a situation where, like, if you don't take action to change or get out of a connection that's not good for you, that doesn't mean you're at fault. It is not in ownership as like, oh, well, It's your responsibility. You have to choose what you do, but it's recognizing that if you can't, then you might not have the ability or the capabilities or the resources to do something. So then your responsibility is not to focus on what do you do, but it's on how can you get help, right? And also acceptance came up. And this is that bit, like I think it's one of the most important things about being true to yourself and also connecting is accepting yourself and others, but accepting who and what you are in this moment in time. So that doesn't mean you can't change. It doesn't mean you can't do things differently or even better if you like, but it means that in this moment in time, you're doing the best you can according to your abilities right now. Like a model I've worked with very often is like awareness, action, and most people, once they become aware, they want to take action and they want to skip the acceptance bit. But what happens is, if I become aware that I'm self-critical and critical of others, then me taking action becomes infused by it being wrong how I am right now. So then everything I do, if I do criticize myself or someone else, I say, oh, you're so stupid, you shouldn't be doing that and it's wrong or whatever. Whereas if I accept that right now in this moment, I'm a critical person, I'm not saying, oh, well, that's the way I am, tough luck, can't do anything about it. I'm saying right now, this is what's happening. So what can I do? And then I have a choice to, and maybe I do choose, I say, well, look, actually, I don't want to work on this right now. I don't care. That's a choice. And letting go of the judgment, whether it's right or wrong, that's my choice. If I then get into certain issues with certain relationships or in certain common situations, then I take ownership, right? But the ownership is around realizing that right now, this is how I am. So what can I do? And maybe I notice, oh, I can't stop myself. I don't know how to get out of this. But that acceptance, I don't know how to change. I don't know what to do with this. Well, then that gives me the power to go, okay, so where or from whom? Maybe it's talking to friends or family. Maybe it's getting a coach. Maybe it's getting therapy even, or maybe it's just practicing more self-love and self-care. It doesn't matter, but like it's looking at the awareness is your source to what it is you need right now. And the acceptance of that taking that step might take you 2 minutes, might take you 2 years, right? How does that, I know we went a little bit deep again, and I'm also very much aware of time. So I had wanted to do another breakout, but I am aware of time. So I don't know what we can do best because it's, oh, my eyes are terrible. It's half, right?
Yeah.
So
we can still do, I mean, we can still do a breakout and then share with the breakout if you want, and then finish if that fits with your plan.
Yeah, I think that might be good. I think we'll do a shorter breakout. So what I might do is, like, normally I do like the triads because you get a nice interaction, but I do think for you to have an ability to properly share about it, like, so actually, you know what, you can even tell me, maybe you can pause the recording because, so I think, like, you know, it really shows this bit of, like, that's why I really like to ask that question of, like, what is there that you don't want others to see? Because what you all mentioned, like, you know, there's this element of that is often linked to either what you're proud of, but also about the obstacles to what stops you from being true to yourself, but also to connect. But also that very often it's that bit of, again, you know, we want to be seen by others. We want others to accept us for who we are, but that doesn't work if we don't accept ourselves. And the things that you don't want others to see about you are often the things that you don't accept about yourself. And we all have these. And this comes back to what I said about the awareness, acceptance, and action, that you can't skip that awareness part. Like, right, and that's the bit, like, so very often also, if you notice that there's times where you feel you can't express yourself, or that others don't see you for who you are, or that you feel disconnect with yourself or with others or with the world, that in those moments, the best place to look is like, what is there that I don't want to be seen, that I don't want to see? And it doesn't mean that you then straight away, because you start again seeing the awareness to that, then suddenly you're going to go, oh, well, that's great. Well, then I'll let go of that. So generally not that easy, but it starts there, because then once you start seeing there, and this is the process that I normally do in my work with clients, both one-on-one and in groups, that mostly we look at those places where you don't want to go. Because one thing I've experienced for myself, when I started looking at that, what I noticed is when I tried to do that all on my own, I felt incredibly lost and unsafe. Like, it was mentioned before, that safe space. So actually then to find whether, again, and this can be a friend or family member, it doesn't really matter, but it can also be a coach, or it can be a group, but find a place where you feel that that space is being held for you. I often say, like, what I do for people is that holding space. Because sometimes we can't do that for ourselves. Sometimes going there feels scary, and we need someone to hold us, literally, right? So I think, that I really noticed that that's what really purpose. And I still struggle with it, because for a long time I thought that I couldn't help people unless I had all that sorted out. I should be perfect, right, before I can help people. It was also one of these beliefs or anything else. Until I realized that, actually, like, I'm doing one training, and that was the bit that I didn't want to see, and it's a training around transformation coaching, and the guy running it, like, so he really works with CEOs and I don't know what, but he luckily for me also does group coaching courses where we can be with people together, and we work in triads then as well, like this, but then we go really deep in that presencing and really talking about stuff. But one thing the trainer said to me was also, he said, it's like the wounded healer. And it's not that, like, oh, you have to have gone through it to help people, because that's not necessarily the case. I studied social work. If I would have gone through everything that my clients, when I worked in social work, had gone through, I probably would be in asylum, because it would be too much. But there is an element that our experience shape us to who we are. And we all have wounds. We all have old trauma. And by working on your own trauma and being with that and learning to be aware, that's from that space, like what we talked about earlier, from the more you get into that grounded space, a more open space, then in that space, you very much can together help each other as well. And I will not make this into a promo thing, but I will mention that, like, this is the reason that I did a lot of one-on-one work with people as well in some groups. But one of the things I really connected during the COVID time was that people really, more than ever, really craved that community to do this kind of work. So next week, actually, I'm launching my, I call it Through You Interconnection Circle, but it's a group program. It's a monthly membership program, and you can either do it monthly or you can sign up for 6 months at the moment. And it will be a group where there will be weekly several meditation sessions. You can join 1 or 2 or many you can attend. They will be through Zoom, so that you really have that interconnection together as well. And then there will also be monthly sessions where we do similar things like this, but we pick a topic, but to really look as well at, like, how can I, that meditation, that mindfulness, my conscious practice, how to bring that in your daily life. Because in the end, if you only have that space during your hour meditation, but you can't actually feel it in daily life, then what's the point, right? And also, I think, as I said, like I mentioned it, I think it was before the breakout room, I still get daily triggered by things, right? So even if in my meditation, I find it really easy to get into the grounded and open space by now, I can be on the phone with my mom and I can be out of that in this. So it's also to have a community where you can share when you are struggling and how to deal with that and how you can practice in your daily life can be really empowering, I find. So anyway, just wanted to mention that if anyone is interested, I'm sure, like, I can get a link or anything like that. But I don't want you to feel like, if you can find this anywhere, I would really implore you, like look at a space, whether you set up a group with friends or with family, or if there's somewhere else, if you have a meditation app even, or whatever it is, but find a space where you can really practice this, not just the going inward and the meditation, but also the sharing in a group and the outward connection. So with that, I want to thank you very much and thank Jane and Empower Amsterdam for having me here. If anyone has any other questions, you can, I think we're kind of running out of time, so I want to give Jane opportunity to say something. And again, if you have any other questions, I'm sure there will be a link to any of my programs, or otherwise you can just Google my name for Facebook or LinkedIn, and feel free to connect with me if you have any questions about today or anything else. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. If you want to put your website into the chat, then that will help everybody, I think.
I will do that now. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Thank you really very much for today. It was really great. I think everybody's enjoyed it. And thanks everybody for taking part. Simona's very kindly put the online feedback form into the chat as well. Good girl, thank you very much, Simona. And I'd like to also tell you that next week, the weekly chat's going to be presented by Lorraine Branch, who's one of our coaches. And it's going to be, oh, I haven't written that. Oh yeah, Strengths to Success. So you're welcome to join us there as well. And the other thing I would like to say is that from July, if you want to join one of these sessions, there's going to be an option to take a donation ticket where you can donate to us. Empower Amsterdam's completely self-funding. We don't have any funding from any government organisation or foundation or anything like that. So if you have got the opportunity to donate to us, even if it's €1, we appreciate it. There will also be an option for a non-donate ticket, so don't feel that you have to donate. There'll be 2 options there, but from July, that's going to be an option in the registration. And that's all, really. That's all. Thank you very much for joining today, and it's been great. Thank you, Tessa, and thanks, Simona, for the brilliant technical support. And thanks everybody who was in a breakout room with me, because I had a great time. And we'll see you all hopefully next week. Thanks.